So what did it say? 630 pounds. Wow.
And our goal is to help you to get you to surgery.
Jazz stood in front of the cracked mirror of her tiny bedroom, her breath shallow and uneven. The fluorescent bulb flickered above her, casting harsh light over her face, eyes tired but fiercely determined. She had always been a fighter, even when life knocked her down. But this time, the stakes felt different. 130 pounds. That was the number she had to beat. The number looming over her like a shadow she couldn't shake. Her journey was never about vanity. It was about survival. For years, Jazz had struggled with her weight, each pound piling on like an anchor tethered to her soul. The food was her comfort, her escape, her safety net in a world that often felt cold and unforgiving. But now, the mirror wasn't just reflecting her image, it was reflecting her future. A future that depended on change. Her heart pounded fiercely in her chest, a chaotic rhythm reminding her she still had a pulse, still had a chance. 130 pounds, she whispered to herself. I can do this. Her phone buzzed on the cluttered nightstand. A message from her roommate, Lana. Hey Jazz, dinner's ready. Remember, chicken and steamed veggies tonight, just like we planned. We're in this together. Jazz smiled softly, the warmth of friendship a balm for her nerves. Lana wasn't just her roommate, she was her anchor, her accountability partner, her motivation. Together, they had pledged to take control of their lives, to fight back against the weight that threatened to bury them. Jazz grabbed her jacket and headed out, stepping into the dim hallway of their apartment complex. The walls seemed to close in, but she held her head high. Tonight was the first night of the rest of her life. Lana was already waiting by the small dining table, a plate of carefully prepared food in front of her. She looked up as Jazz entered, offering a supportive smile. You ready for this? Lana asked gently. Jazz nodded, pulling out a chair and sitting down. I have to be. They had met 6 months ago in a support group for people dealing with extreme obesity. The group was called Room to Grow, a small, tight-knit community where everyone shared stories, struggles, and victories. Lana had been one of the first people Jazz felt she could trust, someone who understood what it felt like to be trapped inside a body that no longer felt like your own. Lana's own battle was daunting, but her spirit was unbreakable. She had lost 80 pounds already, and Jazz admired her strength. Remember, it's not about perfection, Lana said as they ate. It's about progress. Every step forward counts. Jazz nodded, feeling the weight of those words sink in. Progress over perfection. It was a mantra she clung to in the coming weeks. The days blurred together, doctor appointments, therapy sessions, and relentless workouts that left Jazz's muscles screaming in protest. Every morning, she woke up with a fierce determination, pushing herself a little further than the day before. The scale was a cruel judge, sometimes rewarding, sometimes cruelly stagnant. But Jazz refused to let it define her worth. Her body ached, but her spirit grew stronger. The emotional battles were just as fierce, the cravings, the loneliness, the temptation to give up. But she found solace in Lana's presence and the stories shared in their group. One evening, after a grueling workout, Jazz sat on the couch, tears streaming down her face. I don't know if I can do this, she confessed to Lana. Lana took her hand, steady and warm. You can. And you will. Because you're not alone. 6 months later, Jazz stepped onto the scale in her doctor's office. The numbers blinked back at her. She had lost 90 pounds. Tears of joy filled her eyes. She was getting closer. But the journey was far from over. The next 40 pounds would be the hardest, but Jazz was ready. She was no longer the woman weighed down by despair. She was a warrior, fighting not just for a number on the scale, but for a life reclaimed.